I have to create an animated scene in 4 hours or my dream project is in danger. I've been working really hard on my animated project in Blender, but it still lacks some realism. My animation is about a robot traveling a long distance, but it never charges. My project is missing realism. I need to create one more scene to solidify my project. I need to create a highway pit stop where this robot can be charged, like a gas station but for robots. This kind of thing doesn't really exist, so I have to design it too. I gave myself 4 hours to do this shot. Will I have my dream project completed? Or will it be thrown into the pile of unfinished project collecting dust, while the demands of daily life overrides all the projects that once fired my passion? I really had to get going. Now, imagine my idea. A foggy night with glooming lights of a charging station near a highway with a foggy atmosphere and detailed pipes and structured around the station, fueling the station with electricity. I collected the references. Then I sketched it out. Not necessarily Leonardo da Vinci level artwork here, since I have to move fast. I bought in a model from my transport robot kit. Before anything else, I need to model the structure of this charging station. I duplicated and extruded some faces, duplicated some more, and added a solidify and bevel modifier to create the top of the roof. Next I modeled the connectors of the glass walls on the side of the charging booth. I want to add some realism to the structure, but I cannot use too much time on small details. Next I added some materials, duplicated the connector a few times and mirrored the glass planes on the other side. And a connector from the poles to the roof. Next, it was time to work on the materials. I have a steel texture from textures.com. I adjusted the roughness and the bump map. Next I added the ground plane and started working on the structure of the ground. I wanted this robot to be on a highway pit stop, so I created some plant areas that are in line with that. I added a procedural concrete texture. I added an area lamp. This lamp is quite important to make the charging booth stand out from the other environment. I added a roughness map to the glass shader of the side walls. I used a Voronoi texture. Now 1 hour had passed and I didn't have that much ready. I really needed to move forward in my work. I already spent an hour on the basic modeling and texturing, so now I need to get my lighting done. I'm adding a bluish area light to add sort of the general atmosphere of the scene, and I'm turning down the strength of the world material of the HDR rhyme. I also need to create the environment to be believable. I researched how does a highway fence look, how are they structured. This could be an important element in the scene to create the believable sense that we are near a highway. I added some loop cuts on a plane and beveled those. I added a few more loop cuts across the whole fence and then sculpted the fence to give it some variation. Then I created the fence post for the fence. Now the environment is still way too empty and barren. I used the Robotic add-on to add some trees, spruce trees and vegetation around the environment. Around the charging booth to make the scene more immersive. I didn't want the spruce trees to look like complete copies of each other, so I either rotated them, scaled them to be a bit different, or I used a different variant from the Robotic add-on. I also sculpted the ground plane a little bit to give it more variance and interest. And lastly, I scattered some grass across the whole field. I had 2 hours left, but the scene still felt a bit empty and the mood wasn't like I wanted to be. Also, nothing was animated yet. I added some atmospheric fog to create a really foggy, moody atmosphere. adjusted the light to really react with the atmospheric fog to create the atmosphere that I was looking for. I added a spotlight trying to highlight the robot from the scene. I beveled a cube to create an electrical box on the side of the charging booth. I extruded some vertices to create cable. First I just extruded them as simple polygon lines. Then I converted them into a curve and filleted the Bezier curves by using the Curve Tools add-on. Then I added some grass next to the charging booth. Next I started to model the sign. I really wanted to stand out to make it clear this is an electricity booth. First I modeled the main shape of the symbol. Then I extruded it out. And then chose the outer edge of the symbol and used Alt-E to extrude it along the normals. Then I assigned a different material to the outer edge and the center part of the symbol. I placed the symbol onto the charging booth. I adjusted the bias of the big area light because there seemed to be a problem with the shadow. I added a little bit of a detail to the top structure of the charging booth. I noticed myself being too focused on the small details and had to refocus on the main composition. I wanted to create a bit more immersion and add some more elements to the scene, so I decided to just draw them with grease pencil. I moved the elements around, added a little bit of blur and colorize effect to the grease pencil object. I also used grease pencil to add a little bit of graffiti or tags to the charging booth. I don't really know if the robots themselves have the spray paint, but somebody has been creating some art here. At this point I only have 2 hours left to complete the whole scene, and I have 3 major problems. 1. The robot doesn't really stand out in the composition, it's really not visible. 2. The lights in the fog look a bit weird, like there's a light coming from nowhere. And number 3, this is supposed to be a rainy scene, but I have 0 rain. I'm gonna start out with the problem number 1, make the robot stand out from the composition. I'm gonna lift it up in the composition and create a ramp under the robot. The robot can drive up to this charging station. And now, problem number 1 is solved. Problem number 2, which was that the light is coming from nowhere and it doesn't really make sense, doesn't look good in the composition. I started to create a sort of a lamp or a light source in the center of the charging booth's roof or ceiling. I used solidify modifier and beveled a cube. Then I used Voronoi texture in the strength of emissive texture to create sort of a strip of lights. And that problem was solved. Then I got distracted. I started working on some small rocks on the side of the plant areas, beveling them carefully, rotating and scaling each of them individually. At this point I'm running out of time. I don't know if I can afford this kind of level of detail. I started to use sculpting to break parts of the plant area to make the plants overgrown. But the clock is ticking. Now would I finally be able to focus on the important parts of the scene? Nope. For some reason my brain decided it's time to draw a bird. bird has nothing to do with this scene. I started to shade the bird, create new layers. Bird is in no way associated with this project. I even tried to animate the bird before realizing it is distracting. And I had 1 hour 15 minutes left. But that can happen to anyone. I did get an idea though from the bird. I want to add something specific to make the robot stand out even more. I want to make the robot sort of blink or move its light to show how it's charging by animating the location of the gradient. Once I got the light blinking, there was still one major problem left. I had no rain. There is only 1 hour left. I fixed the other problems, but there's still no rain to be seen. I added a plane, added particle system to it, and created some rain. I added an icosphere, used the sculpting tools to make it more of a raindrop shape, and added some kind of glass or water material to it. At this point I was running out of time, so I also animated the camera movement. I had to adjust the particles to make them really look nice in the render. Now I had the problem, I had rain, but the rain didn't react in any way with the environment. I decided to start drawing the splashes of the rain. At this point, I just had to hope it's gonna work and look nice in the final render. I duplicated my drawn keyframes to create more of the splashes and change the color of the splash. And time was up. I had solved my problems, but did I get my render done in a way that would tell the story and help me get my dream project finished? It was time to find out. Yes, I got it done. The scene is here. Let's look at it a few more times. I feel extremely happy my project is done. I'll be uploading my project on this channel. Hope you enjoyed and learned something from this video. I have also been working on a course where I show some tips and tricks about creating your own animation project. How to get it done effectively and tell your story. Check the link in the description.